If you've never seen a box, this is called a box. Basically, it rides on the wall. It's got a little screed. And when you press, the bottom depresses and pushes the mud out that slit. It makes it perfect all the way down. So if you're trying to do this by hand, a good thing to notice is when you're doing that, what that mechanical box is doing is it is riding on the tape line. That was a bubble. That was a screw hole, right? So what it's doing is it fills the low spots and it's riding on the high spots. Once again, fills the low spots while riding on the high spots. And here's another good one where you can see it, where it walked all the way down the wall. And you can see this side of the tape it rode on and the other side of the tape it filled in. So if you're doing any of this by hand, you now know that you need to keep that blade tight. Here, let me show you how to do that. All right, so say I was doing this by hand and I had a tape joint. Well, we know that this is a recess. This is called a band. Now, the ends of the drywall are flat, but the recess, the band part, there's a gap that you can barely see there, but it's just enough to fill in. And so what you're doing with your tape knife is as you're pulling it down the wall, you are cutting. The tape knife is flexible, it's not rigid. So if you don't want a big old chunk of mud on the side, you need to flex that to cut that. So if you're coming down the wall, you're actually gonna press one side or the other, like depress. You'll push it down on one side. So this would actually take 3 knives worth. And then the third day I would come back and I would put right down the middle. And then when I'm doing this side, I'm flexing the knife real hard to the right here to cut the edge of that. And then the mechanical box does that automatically. This side, I'm coming over here, I'm flexing the knife to the left to keep that edge as I pull it down, and it builds it up over here. So it starts with the taper right here and builds it up all the way across. So you're gonna start on top, one smooth motion. I can't say that enough, one smooth motion. And what it's doing is it's riding on top of anything that's high, the highest point. So very little mud is going on the tape joint. So not like what most people do where they build it up and there's big old pile of mud. You can just see that, all it's doing is riding the highest point, but basically it's sparingly putting the mud on. So anyway,